What's up, Disrupt Nation? So my name is Anthony Delgado, and this is another episode of the Disrupt Podcast. And today we have a really, really interesting guest. He is the digital marketing nerd, and he embraces the word nerd. And if you know anything about me and Disrupt in my work, I love embracing the word nerd, proving that nerds can be cool, we can be rock stars, we can be awesome. And this gentleman definitely is all of those things and much more. The legendary one and only Paul Getter. Paul, thank you so much for being on the show, dude.
Oh, thank you very much, Anthony. It's my privilege. Thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it.
Definitely, man. So out of the many things that I envy you on, the amazing people you've worked with, and your illustrious career, the one thing that really caught my eye when we first crossed paths was your Instagram username. You were able to get the 4-letter Paul at Paul Instagram username.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean it's like you are the Paul now. All the other Pauls are just like imitations, right?
Yeah. If you see any other Instagrams out there that say like the official Paul or something like that, it's completely imposters. I am Paul. I am Paul.
Super cool, man. So tell us a little bit more about your career in digital marketing. You've been kind of behind the scenes with some of the world's most influential marketers. So tell us a little bit more about your career and now what you're working on now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So like you said, I've been involved in internet marketing for almost 10 years. And for a long time, I just kind of worked with some really cool, high profile clients, from guys in the entrepreneur space, even Fortune 500 companies, and just kind of did my stuff behind the scenes, and even did like white label agency stuff for different companies and some big companies we did work for. And it wasn't until, the past few years that people started talking and clients started pulling me out and introducing me, and I started speaking at events and, just kind of unraveled from there that, hey, this is the guy that's been working with a lot of people and a lot of guys in the internet space. I've coached some of the bigger names in the industry, and so a lot of them have known about me, but I've always kind of been reserved and to myself about it.
So what was your aha moment, right? What was the moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to get out from behind the curtain and I'm going to launch my coaching program, and I'm going to launch my agency, like a lot more public facing, it seems like.
Sure.
What was that aha moment for you?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I came to the realization is for me to scale that I had to kind of build a brand. And that's, kind of the vision of the internet marketing nerds is it's a brand. Prior to that, all of my clients worked with me specifically. If you asked them who they were working for, they were working with Paul Getter. But to scale a business, you have to be able to have the freedom to put different team members on a task and assign them to certain clients. And so I had to kind of shift from just being Paul Getter to build a brand. And with that being said, a brand gives you the ability to connect with different people at different levels. And it gives you a lot more flexibility than just being some guy behind the scene. Now it's a brand, and it's a company, an agency that people work with.
Very cool. So you hit the ground running, it seems. I think we first met maybe a month or two ago, and just in that time, I think you've gained. I think you went from like 600 to 700,000 followers just since I've met you. So you seem to be scaling really, really quick. What are some of the secrets behind all that success?
Yeah. So, when it comes to Instagram growth, social media growth, there's a lot of different methods that people use. I think one of the first things that you have to have is you have to have content, and good content. But, you can have the best content in the world, but if you don't have exposure to it, then it really doesn't, you don't have the opportunity for growth. So quite frankly, a lot of my Instagram growth, I've done various things. For example, I've done shout outs, I've done partners with people, different things like that. But we've really kind of tapped into methods by using Facebook, Instagram ads to push the content out there get the content in front of people, and then acquire followers from that. So once you can understand the paid traffic side of it, you can pretty much kind of come to a conclusion. Well, it only costs me, X amount of money to grow followers, and if you see a return on it, a value in it, then you just kind of scale it up.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't have one without the other, right? If you have really, really weak content and you put a bunch of advertising behind it, that's not going to really work.
Right.
And if you have the best content in the world, but you're not doing advertising properly, that's not going to work either. So you've kind of found this niche where you're targeting the right folks using advertising, and then you're also boosting the right content, so that it's the right content for the audience and people are engaging.
Exactly. Yeah, you can, obviously with Facebook ads, you can target the audience, whether it's an entrepreneur space, inspiration, motivation, all these different audiences, and then you have content that reflects their interest. If you've got a good Instagram, pushing the right ads out there, it will definitely increase your followers.
Definitely. So I think a lot of people kind of know what you do, and if not, I think your career is kind of illustrious enough that they'll be able to figure out the external things of what you do, right? But let's talk about who Paul is as like a human being, right? You've been growing your brand, more publicly faced recently, but you've been in business for the last 10 years, and there's tons of like social media anxiety, right? So were you ever faced with like maybe depression or social media anxiety or anything behind the scenes, like things that you haven't shared with other people?
Yeah. So, one of the things is when you grow a social following, when you run ads, when you do anything that puts you in front of a larger audience, it definitely opens you up for a greater amount of criticism. And, I'm one of these guys. I'm a kind of a laid back, relaxed, chill type person. And then when you're all of a sudden bombarded by people that hate you just because of, the bow tie you wear, glasses you have, or, then you see these comments, and if you're not accustomed to that, it's very easy to take it personal. So you learn to click on the block button pretty quick and learn to delete comments, because it's easy to take things personal on that level.
Definitely. Yeah, that actually reminds me. Recently, I did a social media post, and it's me in front of a broken down Bentley. And me and my friends, we were doing a photo shoot in the city. We were just running around, and I saw this broken down Bentley, and they were giving it a jump start. And I was like, no, dude, we need to capture this. This is like perfect, because I'm against like the let's take pictures in front of fancy cars thing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
unless
yeah.
that's your car, like let's not go rent a car just to do that, right? But,
Right. Yeah.
I actually have a client of mine that he wanted to do a photo shoot, and he was like, hey, can we rent a helicopter? And I was like, well, do you take helicopters every day? No, you don't? Okay, then let's not rent a helicopter. You take helicopters every day, and that's part of your life? That's how you get around? Dude, I'm
Yeah.
all for it. But if not, then like let's try to be authentic, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, so we see this broken down Bentley. We run up to it. I'm like, dude, like they're literally fixing the car, right? So we're strangers, it's not our car. And I'm like, dude, just take a picture of me. I was like wearing a suit, and so we got this really dope shot of me in front of the Bentley, like texting, and it looks like I'm like calling AAA. And it's just so perfect, right? So I did a post, and I actually like waited to like a month for the right time to put the post out. And I quoted Gary Vee, and I was like, most people have their heads in the clouds and they're too scared to get their hands in the dirt, like something like that. And then I went on a little rant in the comment section. I was just like, people paint entrepreneurship like it's this beautiful thing, and it is, because you're creating, but there's also like the trials and tribulations, and like in real life, your Bentley's going to break down. In real life, your startup might not be able to make payroll 1 month, or like,
Right.
there's real stuff that happens,
Yeah.
And so I put this post out, right? And I got a freaking troll on LinkedIn. And the dude was like, you're always taking pictures in front of fancy cars, or I hate people like you that are, you know, who cares about your fancy car and da-da-da. And I was like, no, I don't think you understood. Like, no, this is actually against those people.
Yeah.
And he
Like,
was like,
please.
even like you can't do anything right.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
I can imagine like the guys that do take pictures for the fancy cars all the time. It must be brutal, right? You get these weird people that come out of the woodwork. Um, and then so I didn't take your advice. I didn't instantly block him, right? I
Yeah.
replied to him and I was like, hey man, like I'm sorry you feel that way. He like called me a name and I was like, you know, there's no need to call names and I'm sorry you feel that way. I think you should reread the post because if you actually read the comment section, like that's not what it was about. And and then he just started trolling me harder. He like left a comment on every single person that left a
Oh,
comment. I was
great.
just like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, gotta block this guy.
Time for the block. Yeah.
But so as you're growing and as you're, you know, I guess transitioning from a behind the scenes guy to an in front of the camera guy, what is that like for you, like emotionally, besides like the trolls? Like what about you internally? Do you ever feel like maybe you're putting on a facade, like, oh, I have this bow tie on, or like I guess the right way to describe it is like having to always be on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I worked very closely with Gerard Adams, and you know, we would go to lunch together, and like we ran a company together, and I remember like seeing the look on his face sometimes when it was like, hey, we're gonna go to this thing, and if it was a public thing, you would see the exhaustion in his face because he's like,
Sure.
oh my god, I have to be on, you know, like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
hair has to be nice, and
Yeah.
I have to wear the bow tie or wear whatever it is that makes me
Yeah.
be this personality, right? So how do you balance that? It's almost like work-life balance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So the funny thing when it comes to you know, my brand is Internet Marketing Nerds. The glasses and bow tie, that's life for me.
Ah,
You know, anytime I'm going out to anywhere important, it's on. When I go to church, that's where it started. I started wearing the bow tie at church, so you know, that's easy. I guess what's weird sometimes is I'm going to conferences, speaking at events, and I've had the opportunity to speak at, you know, some pretty large events, and uh, just because of, I guess, the level people perceive you at, they automatically are kind of like enamored with who you are. They want to get their picture with you, and you're just kind of like, this is weird. You don't know me, you know, just because I gave a 45-minute presentation on Instagram. Now you think I'm someone, you know, popular or special, but it's not really that. But yeah, you have people, and I think that there's sometimes there's individuals that want to connect with you just because they know you're connected to, you know, big name people and people of
yeah, because
extreme wealth.
you're
Yeah,
1 degree separation from
yeah.
whoever.
Yeah. So you're always kind of finding yourself sorting through relationships. Like, do these people want to be connected to me, or do they want to be connected to the people I'm connected to? And so there's challenges like that. And yeah, there's when you're at an event, there is a certain persona, professionalism that you have to present at all times, and people are always, you know, asking you questions and wanting kind of like a free consultation call anytime you're sitting around. You know, it's like I used to be one of these people that you know, people would call me up, hey man, let's go out for dinner and let me pick your brain. And I'd be like, yeah, let's do that. And then I started thinking, you know what, people pay me to pick my brain. So,
Mm.
you know, granted, I'm always generous, want to help people as much as possible. But if you want to call me up, I don't know you, and you want to just pick my brain, it's going to come with a price tag. So,
Mm.
otherwise you find yourself, you're having people pay for information, and then you're giving away information to other people just because they want to pick your brain. And so I always tell them, oh, you want to pick my brain? Here's the application for a consultation call. So, you
Mm.
know, but yeah, I mean, there are challenges that come with it when you, I guess, you achieve a certain level of success.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding that myself, and I don't think I'm at your level quite yet. I'm like jogging right behind you, but like I get overwhelmed, and I'm like, Jesus, you know, like Gerard and you know, people like yourself and all these other people. I have empathy because I get overwhelmed with the, you know, with the amount of stuff that I get the amount of inquiries and, hey,
Sure.
let's do a coffee, let's get on a 15-minute call. I have this idea and
Yeah.
so how do you filter out that stuff and kind of separate the high value conversations from maybe the lower value ones?
Yeah, so for me, one of the things since I got started, I have always um, tried to find people that I believe in. I see they've got some potential, and they're very ambitious, and then just kind of pour into them. I don't ask for anything in return. I've helped a lot of startup companies just to build relationship. I've worked with a lot of really cool people, not been paid anything, and just to help them out. So I think that you have to have some type of wisdom when it's like, okay, is this someone that is just looking for an opportunity, or is this someone that you could maybe sincerely help and they just don't have the means to get to the next level? So there's some people. Let me just say this: if you pull up in a Bentley and you want a free consultation call, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have a problem. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that there's always people that want something for free, even though they can pay for it. But I've learned, even in my own personal life, when it comes to coaching or training or learning something, if I put my money behind it, I'm more likely to follow through.
Mm-hmm.
If someone gives me a free program and says, hey, you can check this out, I want to give it to you for free, they might be selling it for $5,000. But if they give it to me for free, it may sit on my computer and I might not watch one single video. But if I pay $5,000 for it, you better believe as soon as I receive it, I'm going to start, because I've invested myself into it. So I think that there is some importance to making people invest in it, because if they invest in it, they're more likely to follow through.
Definitely. No, I love that. Um, yeah, I think it is a slippery slope. You have, maybe even making them invest a smaller amount, right? Like, hey, I can't
Sure.
afford it. Okay, here's
Yeah.
a discount code or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. So I would imagine that maybe life wasn't always so sunny, right? So
Sure.
tell us about maybe some times of adversity, some times when you had some
Yeah.
self-doubt, and maybe how you overcame those things.
Yeah. So, a lot of people ask me, how did you get into the entrepreneur space? And I'm like, because I needed to make money, that plain and simple. I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur. I was just trying to get the bills paid. And, when you're put in a situation where it's like, okay, the lights are going to get turned off, or you figure out how to make some money, you figure out how to make some money really quick. And there was, a long period of time in just getting started that it was working a full-time job and then coming home at the evening time and working for 6-7 hours trying to figure out things online. And so there was a lot of long days where I was really not making much money at all. But I remember when I initially started making a little bit of money, and it was just like simple things like, wow, I made a couple $100. That will, that'll take care of the utility bills. And
Mm-hmm.
then a month later, you're like, wow, I made, $500-600. Wow, I can take care of the car payment. And then you're like, well, I can take the next month. You're like, well, I can take care of the rent. And then you just go from there. And, but there's a lot of challenges, and you know how it is in the entrepreneur world. You can have things going awesome and everything's looking good, and then an algorithm change or policy change or something like that, and then you've got to learn to move really quick in things.
Definitely. That actually reminds me of something that just happened to me recently. um, my my personal Facebook advertising account just got banned for crypto, right? So
Oh
there's all this crypto stuff, right? And I'm not even really a big player in crypto, but we do cover it on our site. So I've interviewed some people that are influential in the space, right?
sure.
Um, so now it doesn't matter what I try to post. All my ads right now are just blocked for cryptocurrency. And I know a lot of people really got hit. with that whole ban. Do you have any experience with that?
Yeah. So yeah, that's I think if you've done any type of Facebook advertising at any level, you've had that dreaded day where you log into the account and all the ads are stopped, and you got that nice red banner at the top that says, you know, account disabled for policy violations. And it's
Mhm.
always just this mysterious policy violation. You're not really sure exactly what happened or how it happened, what you did. Like you can try to appeal it and beg and grovel and everything like that, but never get it back. So, yeah, I've definitely had the issue with Facebook ad accounts being shut down. We've done a lot of traffic with Google AdSense. I've had Google AdSense. Now, here's the crazy thing with Google AdSense, and if someone's not aware of what Google AdSense is like, when you go to, we did these viral websites and they have all of these ads on there. And so the more traffic that we would push to these websites, the more money we would make through Google AdSense. Well, what would happen with Google AdSense is, say, for example, you made $10,000 in January, you're paid the end of February for it. Like around the 20th or 25th, you receive your Google AdSense check for it. So we would be pushing traffic to these websites. I mean, a large amount of traffic, putting in a large amount of ad spend, and all of a sudden, one of our accounts gets shut down. And how Google does it is they shut your account down like a few days before you're supposed to get a payout.
Of
So
course.
and you don't get that money. It's gone. It vanishes. You can't appeal it. It's just gone. And they will say you've violated our policies. Your account has been shut down. And if you've got $50,000 in there due to you, it's gone. So we've been put in that position where we've had a Google AdSense account shut down. We've had 6 figures due to us, and it gets shut down. So talking about a huge punch in the stomach, that's a painful experience.
No, yeah, absolutely. And especially when you have infrastructure costs, you have costs
Yeah,
that you have to pay, whether it's web hosting or marketing and all sorts of things, and you're kind of relying on that money to keep your business afloat.
right.
I was a big AdSense guy back in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, I definitely experienced the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations. We had a hip hop site. It was called unreleasedhiphop.com.
okay.
And once in a while we would put like the video vixens, right? It's nothing pornographic, but it's just the girl in the bikini or the tight shorts or whatever.
Yeah,
And yeah, they flagged us for that. They said it wasn't family appropriate.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
we
go ahead, I'm
we
sorry.
yeah, we did so many different accounts, different websites. If you put the ad too close to the next button, um, you know,
uh
they would flag it because they felt like you were trying to, get an invalid click. So it was simple things like that. And when you're learning it, it's just kind of like, man, it's trial by error, and you learn what not to do. And unfortunately, it costs you.
Definitely, definitely. So that's kind of a good segue into another thing I want to pick your brain about. Um, so Facebook and Google, which owns YouTube, and Facebook, which owns Instagram and WhatsApp, it feels like it's this big monopoly, right? And quite recently, there was Alex Jones, who is like a political conspiracy theorist, really
Right.
funny. For me, it's funny, it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, yeah.
But and they call it deplatformed. He was simultaneously removed from Google, Facebook, YouTube. Like everyone ripped down his accounts
Right.
at
Yeah.
once and silenced him.
Yep.
So do you feel like it's a problem, like we kind of have a monopoly on our hands, and what do you think we should do, like as a society, about that?
Yeah. So, here's one thing that you have to take into consideration is all of these companies are privately owned. I mean, they have their own opinions. They can have policies and things. But I think you start going down a slippery slope when you start saying, well, I can silence this person, but, you just, if you don't like them, you can silence them.
Yeah, I
Granted,
guess it's different than the New York Times saying, "Oh, we're not going to accept this article," right? Because the New York
right,
Times is curated by design.
right.
Facebook and YouTube, they're supposedly these open marketplaces.
Yeah. No, so it's definitely, it's one of those things that the the I think there should be more options when it comes to social media platforms. There definitely should be more options available. And in some regards, there are other options. They're just not, don't have the exposure that these big companies do. So, but when you work with these social media platforms, they set the rules. Plain and simple, they set the rules. I've seen policies change. Over 10 years of doing ads on Facebook. There are some things like, for example, cryptocurrency. When cryptocurrency first came out, we were all running ads in cryptocurrency, and then 6 months, a year into it, Facebook changes the game and says, "No, we don't want you to do cryptocurrency." And we've seen changes in that. We've seen policies change based upon gender roles and person's sexual identity, weight, all of these different things that political. So all of these variables have a role in their policies. And so I guess for Facebook and Instagram and these social media platforms, they kind of have to, I've talked to a Facebook rep, and they said their end game is not to make money. But their end game is to please the user, to keep the user happy. Of course, if they keep the user happy, they're going to make money. But if their goal is just to make money, then it may displease the user. So their priority is to have a platform that keeps the users happy.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think for the most part, that's what they've done, and that's why we have this open, pretty open platform. But there is, I guess, political pressures and kind of super influential pressures that have them change their mind on certain things.
Yeah, definitely.
That's actually an interesting segue into the true definition of influence, right?
Sure.
So Comey and like a lot of these really big political figures, I forget who it was. Cuomo, that's what it was. Anthony Cuomo, who's like this huge politician from New York. I think they're like a dynasty family where the father was a politician and the son, and the other son is on CNN. It's like this big dynasty family.
Right.
And I came across his Instagram account, and he had 1,000 followers on Instagram. And he was verified, and he had a blue check because it was the real, it was the real Cuomo, right? But he only had like a very humble 1,000 followers, right? And another example could be someone like, maybe an executive at Apple or an executive at Facebook, right? The same executive that says there's no cryptocurrency, right? And there are these people of massive influence that are not influencers, that don't have this huge social media reach. And I argue with, not argue, but I converse with a lot of my friends in the definition of influence, right? You'll have like a booty girl who has a bazillion followers, but it's like, what is she influencing? Is she, if she told everyone to go vegan, would they all go vegan because she said so? So what do you think the true definition of influence is, and how can influencers that are out there maybe leverage their voice for good?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we all have to come to the conclusion to is social media is not reality. And
it's not, are you sure?
Yeah, it's plain and simple. It is people's highlight reels. You know what I mean? These are all the good things. Very rarely do you see the people posting their pictures when it's at the wrong angle, the lighting's bad, and their hair's messed up, and every person that has a social media following, they want that right angle, they want the right look, and so but it's not reality. We don't have filters in reality that change us and make us look differently in reality. So it's I think we've all probably seen that situation where we've connected with someone online, and then you meet them in person. You're like, wow, this is just like, you look different, and you're trying to be nice about it. But so it's not reality. When it comes to influence, defining what influence is, in my opinion, is
Paul?
If you have that, because I think that we already established at the beginning of this conversation, you can buy followers. So through paid ads, you can acquire followers. So the ability to have an influence on a person's life, to inspire them, encourage them, motivate them, change them, pour something into them that'll make a difference. I think that has to be a real influencer. There has to be some type of passion behind that in making a difference in someone's life personally. And with that, an even loftier goal is to make a difference in this world. And that's what an influencer is to me.
That's awesome. I love that. So on the back of that, what are some of the things that you're doing to make an influence in this world? Tell us more about the new program that you just released, and
Sure.
and how that's shaping up.
Yeah. So we've had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest names in the industry, in the entrepreneur space, and personal development. And in addition to that, I've coached, I've mentored, and done things like that. And once you get to a position where you're comfortable, let me just say this: I know that there's a lot of guys that their business model is they make money through coaching. That's their business model. They coach and they train. Sometimes these individuals may not even necessarily done what they're coaching on, and so it's kind of a challenge to embrace what they're coaching on if they really don't have life experience, and maybe they've read some books or something, or they've connected with some friends that have done it. So it's challenging to think of them as an expert or a coach in that. Our model of our business is agency related. So we work with a lot of clients. We build out funnels, we run ads, we do all of this, and we've been behind the scenes of some of the most profitable online platforms ever made. We've built them. We've drawn up people's webinars for them. Everything from top to bottom. So there's let me just say, good money being made in the agency. But I think there comes a point when when you see someone that you have helped, that you have mentored and coached, when they go from, I think offhand of a guy that I've worked with that he was making $500-600 a month. That's what he was living on, $500-600 a month. I just talked to him yesterday, and this year he'll make $1 million.
Wow.
To me, that is just, man, it's awesome. Of course, we know it's not all about the money and that, but when you see someone that has been able to go from that level to that level, and it's made a difference in their life, it's made a difference in his family's life, that's very rewarding, and that's something that gets me excited.
Definitely. And I think, it's not that it's all about the money. Like, people try to vilify making money. Like, you need the society that we live in, unless you just want to be an anarchist and live on
Right.
an island. I mean, I'm living on an island right now,
Yeah.
uh, the society that we live in, it's based on money. That's how you can create financial
Yeah.
freedom for
Yeah. Yeah.
people. That's
Absolutely.
how you can provide for your family. That's how you can, like right now we're building a school in Puerto Rico to teach kids digital skills. So we're teaching
Oh man,
coding and
that is
marketing
awesome.
and all of these things. We need money to do it though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like the money's not the root of all evil. It's what
Yeah.
people do for
Do with
money, or
it.
if
Yeah. Yeah.
your only goal is financial, that
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
sometimes be a problem. But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with making money.
Yeah, yeah, no, I feel the same way. I always tell people, nothing wrong with having money as long as money doesn't have you. You know?
That's a good one. That's a good one. But yeah, so we're working down here in Puerto Rico, and teaching digital skills to the people here so that they can create financial freedom for themselves and their families, right?
Yeah,
Um, and so that they can make money, right? Like we believe that all people need to succeed is Wi-Fi and a dream. Like you
yeah,
have connection to the internet, you have a laptop. There's no reason why you can't be, earning a decent income,
yeah.
online.
No, that is so true. I've in addition to internet marketing, I've traveled to various countries on mission trips and stuff, and I see it is so true. If someone can learn a skill online, and it could be something as simple as graphic design or making videos. I work with people around the world, and you know say through websites like Upwork, and where you can connect with people and hire them. uh, I see guys that are living in third world countries, but they're making a couple $1,000s a month, and to them that's a very comfortable lifestyle. So yeah, that is an awesome thing to do, to take the internet marketing and digital skills around the world, because you don't have to worry about the economy around you when you're working in a global economy.
Yeah, and that's like we've never even had that opportunity. Like it's so unprecedented. Even 20 years ago, you couldn't start a sneaker store and say, "Okay, I'm going to sell to everyone in the world
Right, right, yeah,
tomorrow," right? You
yeah,
would have had to have tons of stores, and even then, right? And now you can go head to head with Foot Locker. You can go head to head with, anyone who is your competition. Um, I think there's maybe a few examples like food and maybe like transportation and things where you
sure.
have to be a little more hyper local. But for most things, like anything that you could ship within 24 hours, you're really playing on a global field.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. The internet has definitely brought us all closer together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even not even the third world, right? Or even within the United States, right? The kid that grew up in, a small town in Ohio, now he can compete with, the people in New York and the people in LA, right?
Right. Yeah. 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 That's awesome. And another thing is the educational process has obviously changed.
Yes.
And I've got two sons that are in college right now, and they're going to school for computer programming and different things in the digital field. And my oldest son was joking with me. He's like, "I don't know why I'm going to college, because I can learn all of this online." And I try to be like one of those, well, yeah, it's good relationships, good experience, but on the other hand, I'm one of these fathers that is rooting for my children to drop out of college, because I'm like, look, I can teach you, I can show you. And so yeah, I've seen guys. I had a young guy that I worked with. He was like 17, 18 years old, lived in Greece. And during this time, the economy in Greece was just, I mean, they had a lock on bank accounts where you could only withdraw a certain amount of money each day from your bank
Wow.
account. And I mean, it was just complete, depression in Greece. And he learned email marketing, digital marketing, and everything. And this young guy, he's in high school, and I'm coaching him, I'm talking with him, and everything, trying to show him things. And within a year or so, he was making six figures. And
Wow.
in a country that was experiencing tremendous financial difficulty, I asked him, I said, man, I said, what do your friends think? You're in high school and you're making six figures a year. What do your friends think? He's like, Paul, I would never tell any of my friends this because, they would all be at my house the next day. So, so he's moved out of the country, and he's actually, again, I think he's probably about 20 now or so. But now he lives in a beautiful house, is taking care of his family and stuff. And it all started through online marketing.
Very cool. So your coaching program, tell us a little bit more about it. So are you is that your ideal audience? Is it someone who, they're young and they're trying to get started and they're trying to seed an agency, or is this for someone kind of in the middle of their career? Like where do you see that market fit?
Yeah. So I think that the level that we bring to our coaching is probably not necessarily for the beginner, just simply because there's a necessary investment that needs to be made. And a lot of times people that are just beginning can't afford to go into a high-level coaching program. But when you are working with someone that is maybe they're at making six figures and they want to go to seven figures, that's probably the more ideal client for us. Students that we are coaching, they've got a funnel, they've got a platform, they've got a product, and it's just the numbers aren't working. They can't figure out how to get their ads performing properly. Their opt-ins are low, and registrations, all of these things. They've got something that's working, but they know that there's room for improvement. I've talked with guys that are making high six figures, and we start out the coaching, and I'll ask them, I'm like, what's your opt-in rate on this? And they're clueless. They're like, I don't know. Where do I find that out at? And so, it's things like that. I think like, wow, if you've done this well and you don't know your basic stats, then there's definitely opportunity for you to go to the next level. So, so I guess the ideal person that we connect with and that we're working with is someone that has achieved a level of success, and they're really just wanting to take their business from 6 to 7 figures, or even 7 figures to 8 figures.
Definitely. Yeah. So someone who, they've been running and gunning, and maybe they've hit, achieved a certain level of success and then hit a plateau, and they're really trying to like take it up a notch and take it to the next level, right?
Yeah. I can give you an example. I was talking to a guy about our coaching program, and just kind of, because I legitimately I don't want to coach someone that I really don't think I can help. I mean, there's no point. There's some areas we might have clients come to us, and we just look at it like, yeah, that's not our best fit. We're not experts in that. But I remember talking to one guy, and I said, well, let me just look at your ads real quick, if you don't mind, and I'll give you an idea if we can help you out. And I looked at his ads, and I said, hey, man, I tell you what, I can redo your ads. If that's the only thing that I do for you, it'll be worth the coaching. And I told him, I said, matter of fact, our first call, I'll do show you how your ads should be running, and it'll cut your cost per conversions in half. If it doesn't do that, I'll refund your money. And so that day we jumped on the call, and we set up his ads, and within 24 hours, his ad cost was cut in half. Obviously, his conversions doubled. He texted me the next day in the morning, and he said, man, I feel like I just drank a case of Red Bull, because it's just a whole new world now. So when you can legitimately do something like that, where you can help, double someone's conversions, or, increase their show up rate to the webinars, and, increase their bottom line, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
That's awesome. One question that I have, and this is kind of taking a step back to kind of the social media monopolization we were talking about earlier.
Sure.
Mark Zuckerberg said that he wanted to run for president, or there were rumors about it. I don't think he announced it, but there were some rumors about it. Do you do you think that Mark Zuckerberg should be allowed to run for president?
Well,
Considering the fact as a digital marketer, you know that he can just run all the Facebook ads that he wants for free.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess we can say that you don't necessarily have to be a politician to be a president. We've seen that true recently.
Yeah, we could definitely say that now.
But man, I don't know. I think if anybody knows more about us, it's probably Mark. I don't know if I want Mark running the country. Let him stick to Facebook, please.
Yeah, right.
But,
I feel like it's a little bit of an unfair advantage.
Yeah. I mean, it's like all of a sudden, I think they probably change their policies when it comes to running political campaigns if something like that were to come to pass. I'm afraid that we'd be exposed to Mark Zuckerberg banners all over the place on Facebook. Like, man, I'm retargeted by that ad and just everywhere. So.
Oh man. Yeah, I could see it now. The nonstop swipe ups of Mark Zuckerberg's political campaign.
Right.
Oh man. All right, cool. I think we're running a little low on time, but I have one more question for you. It's something that we ask all of our guests, and it's what does disrupt mean to you?
So disrupt, in my opinion, is to I guess shake up the normal. Push people out of their comfort zone and disrupt. Push them, move them forward, or put them on the right path. That to me would be disrupt. If I think I'm doing something and all of a sudden something comes in and disrupts me, that's like, whoa, okay, you've got my attention at that moment.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, Paul, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
totally. If people want to connect with you on social media, where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, so like you said, they can hit me up on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Paul. So at Paul, just Instagram.com/Paul, and you got me. Send me an inbox and we'll connect. You can also visit our website. To know more about us, it's paulgetter.com. That's Paul, GETTER.com. And you can see some cool videos of testimonies, people we've worked with. Again, some of the biggest names in the industry we've worked with, and they've given us some pretty gleaming testimonials.
Very cool. Awesome. Paul, thank you so much again for being on the show, man.
All right. Thanks a lot, Anthony.